Revenge and death. That's the theme of this video, and it was done to perfection. Welcome to my channel where we talk about comics and stuff. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and click the notification button to be notified when I drop a new video. Now, let's get into it. Our story starts out in a lake, and in this lake, we see Mary with markings on her face. But now she goes by Nimue because she's seeking help from her sisters, the ladies of the lake. It's Christmas Day and she needs a gift. And they give her one. And she goes on a merry way back to the king, who at this moment was losing his shit because his forces were failing. They were all dying. He wanted an edge over the other Arthurs. So as soon as he saw someone enter his kingdom and he saw it was Mary, he shouted with all his might, "Speak or die where you stand." But she brought him something with the sharpest edge. She brought him Excalibur, and as soon as he saw it, he was excited. So excited, he called for a party. "Brothers and sisters, bring out the alcohol. Let's get crazy." While everyone was having the time of their life, Mary took the opportunity to confront Merlin, who we discover isn't actually Merlin. He is like her, someone who took a story. He was a barb who lost his king, and at that moment he loved his king so much, he took upon him the story of Merlin and instilled on his king the story of Arthur. So the Demon King isn't really the true Arthur at all. But in the middle of his story, he feels so sleepy, he passes out right there, right then. But it wasn't just him, everyone was out. And she went straight to the king, taking away Excalibur. She wanted to hurt Merlin for taking her son, and she knew that he loved the king the most. She wanted to kill him right here, right now. But she decided not to, because there was a plan. So she took what she needed and she left. Back to her mother, and her mother saw her and was proud. "You stuck to the story. Nice one." But there was no time to celebrate because it was the day after Christmas, so the war began again. And the steampunk King Arthur sent a soldier, but Granny was ready, lighting him up with a rocket launcher. She wasn't here to play games. She was here to defend that freaking rock. But right now, she had a plan, and that plan had to be followed. So she called on the merry men because they had a ceremony to carry out. While King Arthur, well, he had Excalibur. So he was butchering everyone, especially this pretender, splitting him in half, looking at his corpse and saying, "Nah, one king, one land." While he took out the garbage, Granny and her forces unleashed a water god. And as soon as he was free, he took off running because he knew at this moment the king was yet to be decided. He wanted to take the sword for himself and become the true king of England. But he must have forgotten. He was a water god. He couldn't even lay hands on the sword. And because he couldn't, he wanted no one else to, causing a storm and electrifying that sword. No one could touch it. Merlin saw this and told his king, "Let's go. We'll come back another day." And they left. And at that moment, Duncan and Granny had to go back to Bath because they were supposed to go to the underworld and connect the River Lith to this water god. But the thing is, the ceremony was held with the merry men. Time passes faster with the merry men. And as soon as they realized it was too late. Rose was about to meet her maker. Standing before her was the Green Knight. She begged him, "Let's not do this." But he wanted violence. So she shot and shot and shot again. With a big Joker-like smile on his face, he whipped up his big axe and he split Rose in half. Rose was dead. And at that moment, her mother was mourning Galahad because his mother didn't even stay to bury him. She just went off for revenge. And we see Lancelot at that moment too, regretting his actions, regretting the choices he has made till now. But Rose's mother was too focused on this stone, because this stone was a representation of what could happen, but she didn't know it had already happened. Standing before her daughter's corpse was the Green Knight, and he smiled because he did the Lord's work. But standing behind him was King Arthur, another person to play a game with. So as soon as he turned around, he asked him, "Do you want to play a game?" But King Arthur was the Demon King. All he said was no, and split the Green Knight in half in return. But from the corner of his eye, he heard someone say thank you. When he looked, it was Rose, and she was healing. She was split in half, and she was healing. He asked how, so Rose showed him how. She had his belt, and now he was vulnerable. So they opened fire, but he was still a demon king. With one swing, he tore people in half. Rose realized at that moment, yeah, he not vulnerable enough. He was coming for her with all of his might, and Rose's mother could feel it. Her daughter was coming upon true death, which is what made her reminisce about the childhood she had. Rose was adopted and she never wanted to know her real parents. And when Lancelot heard this, he was surprised because he knows another person who was adopted and didn't care about his real parents. Arthur was adopted and didn't care about his real parents. Yup, that's right. As soon as Rose laid hands on that great sword, she was transformed and filled with magic of Arthur and his stories. She was a demigod. Back with Granny and Duncan though, they were going to hell. But first they had to take care of the monster. She shouted, calling forth the Gorgon. And when he came, she blew him up because she didn't have time to joke. She blew this monster up swiftly. And at this moment, yeah, both King Arthurs were about to fight. Rose, looking at the Demon King, said, "Come forth, pretender." When the Demon King heard this, he was like, "Bruh, who you trying to punk? Me?" His Merlin begged him, "My king, let's run away." But he said, "Nah, G, I'ma face her alone and show her I am the real King Arthur." Both of them launched an attack, their strongest attack. And with one clash of the blade, he knew instantly, yeah, her magic is stronger than mine. And she knew it too, because she took his hand, kicking him to the side. He was pathetic, whimpering, "I am the true king. I am king." But she looked at him and said, "Yes, you were," stabbing straight through his heart into the stone. Demon King was dead. Demon King was in hell. Because as soon as Granny and Duncan got to hell, they saw his corpse and they were happy. Rose did it. They didn't want to know how, but all they knew was Rose had killed King Arthur. And Merlin, Merlin wasn't having it. Merlin looked at Mary and said, "Your son is dead. I will bring him back. Tell me your plan." And Mary folded. She folded so fast, it was unbelievable. She told him everything. And because of that, he took Mary and teleported himself to hell. And Rose decided to follow. She needed her own Merlin, but she knew where he was. She didn't even need to struggle. But back in hell though, Granny and Duncan were getting ready to pump the water when boom, Merlin came forth, angry, fuming. Looking at Duncan, he said, "I know your fate. You are part Beowulf now, and your end won't be easy. You're meant to die by a dragon's hand. I know your story very well, and because of this, I will be the dragon that ends you." We see that Merlin had morphed into a gigantic dragon just for the express purpose of ending Duncan's sorry existence. We are reaching the finale now, so yes, be excited for it.